Hi, leadership team at REIG. My name is Nikki Nemiroff, if you haven't figured that out by now. And just wanted to give you a brief introduction into the nature of the work that we're going to be doing together over the next 90 days minimum. I say 90 days minimum because what we've learned is it takes 90 days to instill and incorporate some new habits. And we're going to be working on the development of some individualized practices for each of you to engage in that over the next 90 days, the intent is that you get rooted in these practices. For some of you, perhaps you're inadvertently or already doing some of these things, which is fine. We're not going to mess with what works. If you are consistently reaching your stated goals and consistently setting what we call stretch goals and living into those, then that's wonderful. Then we want to really dissect your process, reverse engineer it so the rest of us can learn from that. And that's what our 90 days is going to be about. It's going to be a learning laboratory where we're going to be exploring the nature of best practices that have been utilized by high-performing leaders and their teams that we've observed, worked with, documented over the past close to 30 years in our work in this field. So I'll give you an example. My business partner used some of the models that we came up with and utilized that inside his work with Shaq O'Neal, who played center for the Lakers during the 2002-2003 championship series. And Burton was able to use some of the tools and practices that we're going to be introducing to you folks over the next 90 days inside of his work with Shaq. And as a result, Shaq was able to convert his free throw percentage from 18% to 85%, which is a paradigm shift in his performance during the championship series with both Sacramento and Philadelphia, resulting in winning the championship. To this day, Shaq credits Burton's assistance with helping him win 3 championship rings. I say that not to brag about us, but to really emphasize that we've learned some process along the way that just seemed to work if you work it. And that's our intention. Our intention is to engage in a series of conversations with you and take the principles and concepts that you've perhaps heard about or learned about through any kind of transformational work, either for your own individual performance or transformed leadership, and convert those principles into very specific practices that everybody can engage in together, and then share what we're learning through utilizing those practices in the hopes that all of us evolve together and we optimize our performance. And when we talk about high-performing leaders, one of the things that all high-performing leaders had in common, they had certain key characteristics that we're going to be kind of separating out into 3 learning components over the next 3 months. The first characteristic they demonstrated was disciplined focus. And focus is direction of attention and the interpretations or narrative that you generate, because high performers always took command of how situations occurred to them. They were not governed by situation or circumstance. They seek to embrace the circumstance in such a way that they bring out the best within themselves and evoke the best within others that they mentor, coach, or guide. The second main characteristic is mental resilience. Mental resilience is the ability to rise above the circumstances, take command of the situation, and the ability to rapidly recover from what we call triggered state. A trigger is a stimulus that takes you out of a loving, joyous, or creative state. So we're going to then translate that into a set of practices that all of you can engage in together to practice learning how to rapidly recover from these triggered states, so you can then activate the part of the brain involved in innovative thinking, collaboration, and creative thinking, and to do so way more readily. And then the final characteristic for month number 3 is called accountability versus responsibility, and it's all about building an ownership mindset and taking that ownership mindset inside of all of our endeavors. And as you go through these processes and practices, you're in a much better and more leveraged position to then guide others to do the same, because it's very difficult to guide and empower other people in areas that we are not on the road to mastery for ourselves. So there you have it. That's a brief overall introduction to the nature of the work we're going to be doing together. I look forward to having our initial conversation in the first Wednesday in November. And until then, I hope all of you stay safe and you practice focusing on those elements that are within your command rather than the circumstances that are not in command, such as the forest fires that are pretty close to our home these days. I can take command over how I choose to prepare for that. I am not in control of whether or not my house is going to burn down. So these are some personal examples of some of the things that I need to practice every day. And I hope all of you are safe, and I look forward to talking with you soon.